Little League Baseball, How to Pitch and Field, featuring Dr. Bragg Stockton, head baseball coach at the University of Houston. In this program, Coach Stockton will teach you the dynamics of the pitching delivery, as well as the fundamentals of proper fielding. Like all exercises and drills, the more you practice, the better you'll perform. Pitching. Master the fundamentals of pitching, and you'll add some pop to your fastball and reduce your risk of injury.
Phase one would be hiding the ball properly, stepping back only a few inches, and making sure that the body is balanced straight up and down. Now what I do on phase two is take my foot and turn it so it's in front of the pitching rubber. I want to make sure that my back toe does not come off the ground until my shoulders get started into its turn. This is very important. The reason for this is to make sure that I don't drift in front of this imaginary wall that's in front of the rubber. I've drawn a line on the mound approximately a foot in front of the pitching rubber. You young pitchers, try to imagine a wall standing right in front of you. In fact, this is a super drill to execute over and over in your room. Get 1 foot away from your wall and try to see if you can get this turn behind the wall. We don't want to run into the wall, thus be drifting towards the plate. Now, to ensure this from not occurring, to ensure yourself from not drifting forward, make sure that I step back only a few inches and that I keep my back toe close to the ground until I get into the turn before I start to actually let the foot come off the ground and the knee coming up to its position. Now what I've got to make sure that I do is that my leg strength has got to be under my body weight when I get up here at the top of phase two. I want to make sure that the knee is tight if you prefer to have your knee up high. Some pitchers wrap the knee more than others. Some pitchers kick their leg out. If there's not a preference, I would suggest you keeping that knee up higher than the belt. And I would suggest the knee coming in close to the body. This will work better with your leg action and arm action as you get into the other phases of the delivery. Secondly, keep the shoulder closed. Keep that front shoulder closed and make sure that the loop is in relatively close to your body. Now this is what we call a pitcher's loop, where the ball and the glove meet. Keep that loop in close to the body if you're going to throw from over the top. So at the top of phase two, I've got my hip pocket, my knee, and my shoulder turned towards the catcher. It almost pretend like you got an eyeball drawn right here, and it's looking right straight at the catcher. An eyeball on the hip pocket of your uniform, and it's looking at the catcher. An eyeball slightly behind the shoulder. All three eyeballs are looking right at the catcher, right here. In other words, you young pitchers, try to stay away from this kind of a position at phase two. Now, right now, the eyeballs are looking off to the side. I lose all this hip rotation that gives me power and allows me to get my shoulder over and keep the ball low. So what I want to do is to make sure that in the phase two, not only do I get into the turn before the back foot comes off the ground, but I also make sure that I stay behind that wall, okay, tight, and the glove and the knee are close together. This is the kind of the halfway point of a pitcher's delivery. Phase one and two are slow, they're smooth, they're deliberate. There's no rush. You don't run at the plate. You don't rush these two phases. Everything is slow and smooth, deliberate, and specific. Now, once I get into this position, phase two, everything stays closed, then I go into 3, 4, 5. The phase three is a break of the hand from the glove. Now, it's very important to time this with the knee starting down. Once the knee starts down, at the very precise moment that that knee starts down, that's when two other things go down. The ball starts down from the glove and the back knee collapses. We want to have an angle in the back knee. There's got to be an angle in my back knee so I can push. I got to be able to push later in the delivery. So when I get up here to phase 2, I want to make sure that my leg doesn't remain stiff and just lean into the delivery. To do this, I've got to be very strong in my legs. And we'll discuss strength in the legs later on, but it's very important that the pitcher has extremely strong legs. So up here at phase 2, I'm balanced. Then when the knee starts down, that's when that back knee starts to collapse. The elbow starts to straighten out behind the body. Now, the knee is a hinge joint. The elbow is a hinge joint. Just try to remember that the hinge joints straighten out. From the side, we're like this. We're like this. Everything stays closed. The hip stays closed. We don't open up. So I'm right there. I'm right there. I'm right there. Make sure that that knee starts to straighten out as the elbow starts to extend. The shoulder still stays closed. A common mistake of a lot of young pitchers is made at this point. They'll be up here at the top of phase 2, and then they'll start to open as they start to extend. A lot of them keep the elbow bent and short arm the ball. Some of them turn the wrist upward, restricting the wrist action. So what we want to encourage you to do, you young pitchers, we'll talk about arm action later, but make sure that that elbow extends. When the elbow extends, it loosens up my wrist. Now, let's go back to phase 3 now. We're back up here at phase 2. Make sure that we get that good early turn. We're staying tight. Now, once I start down, that shoulder stays closed. The knee starts to straighten. The elbow straightens. Now, the back of the hand stays towards home plate. It doesn't turn out until I extend. Then the second part of arm action occurs into phase 4. All right, let's look at it. Now, remember, we said we had an eyeball in the hip pocket, eyeball in the knee, and an eyeball behind the shoulder. And that we want to make sure that we turn those towards first or third base, depending on whether I'm a right or left-handed pitcher, quickly. It's like a hitter staying closed on the stride and then turning real quick with the hips. We got to make sure that we stay closed. Stay closed. We don't want to open up here at the top. That knee does not turn over like this. It stays closed as it straightens. By closed, I mean the eyeball still is looking towards home plate. The hip pocket stays towards home plate. The back of the shoulder stays towards home plate as the arm drops. Now, that's very important because if I start to open as I extend, i.e. this way, then I lose all my hip pop, all my power. This is my power position as far as pitching is concerned. All I've got to do as soon as I feel the elbow extend is to pop. Now, let's stop and look at this for just a second. A pitcher's delivery in these 5 phases is made up of a lot of key instant points. Points that a pitcher has to cue on. For example, one of them is when that elbow extends. In other words, how long do I stay into that position as my back leg is pushing? See, I'm pushing off of this rubber. I'm pushing, I'm driving, I'm building power. Well, how long do I keep pushing and driving before I pop and get my body over the top? Well, you do it as soon as the elbow reaches its total extension, like right now, now, now. In other words, as soon as I feel that elbow extend, that's when the pop takes place, right Now, if I do that, two other things need to be considered. One is the back of the heels. The back of the heels always look behind the pitcher at the same time. Okay? In this case, I'm a right-handed pitcher, so they're looking towards first base. When I pop, I make sure that both of them turn back towards second. In other words, the heels of a pitcher do the same thing at the same time. We don't want to be up here opening up and letting one heel face second and the other still back here at first. I don't have any hips. I don't have any pop. Now, if I don't have real good pop to my hips and real good push to my back leg, then my upper part of my body will always be slow, and I'll be dragging through the delivery. This is the part that runs a lot of pitchers out of baseball. It either runs them out of baseball because they can't keep the ball down and get ground balls and strikeouts, or it runs them out of baseball because they load up their elbow. Any pitcher who drags through the delivery with a slow shoulder, slow arm action is going to have serious elbow and shoulder problems. Consequently, they'll just be forced out of baseball, not because they're not, they don't have the quality to pitch, but because of the fact that their dynamics of their delivery didn't allow them to prevent arm injury from occurring. Now, keep in mind, you young pitchers, what we're trying to do, our main objective is to keep the ball down in the strike zone, below the hitter's hands and just above his knees. So I've got this area right here to work with to the hitter. When that hitter's up there, I focus below his hands and just above his knees. So if I do that, it's not just a focus, but my body has to be in that position to deliver maximum velocity pitches below the hands and above the knees. So if I don't stay closed throughout that 3 and pop hard throughout phase 4, the shoulder never comes fast enough. It'll always be behind and dragging. All right, now let's look at something else here. I want to make sure that by the time my foot hits, now you'll be in phase 3. Remember, the heels are facing back behind you, and the ball of the foot is heading towards that point where I'm going to land on the mound. But just before I land, I pop it. It stays closed, and then the heels pop. Now, by the time the foot lands flat, I want to have this back heel up. The back heel turns up. What I don't want to do is to drag off the rubber. I don't want to have my back leg do this. Slow. This slows the side down. It slows that pop. It slows the upper body action from coming over. So another one of my checkpoints, those specific cue points, is to make sure that the throwing shoulder is at a peak going forward as well as upward. It's over the heel at a peak by the time the front foot hits. Look at my hips. My belt buckle is facing straight towards the catcher. Straight towards the catcher by the time that happens. We don't want to get into an overstride position where I'm way out here, way off balance, still trying to get through it. And that's exactly what's going to happen if I get back here at the beginning and start running. Right there, you see this happen a lot. And then everything's with the arm. Now I'm standing straight up. The coaches holler for the pitcher to follow through. The follow through doesn't make any difference. I've already released the ball too high. The shoulder had to do all the work. The arm is laboring. Phase 5 is not a phase that I have to think about. It's something that I set into motion with the proper phase 1 and 2. If my 1 and 2 is nice and slow, tiny step back, nice and deliberate, then I can't stop. I just keep on going. I just keep on going. Phase 5 is just a normal part of a proper delivery. The back leg comes over the top, the elbow comes by the knee, and then I set it down.
Fielding. These 5 basic fielding drills, when practiced repeatedly, will ensure your ability to consistently field the ball and throw with accuracy and strength.
Ready position. Russell, just get your toes on this line, and the feet will be about as wide as the bat. Now, for you summer league coaches, have your players the first day at practice put a bat down. If they have their own bat, then put it down on the ground in front of them. So it's very easy for them to not only understand how far their feet are to be away from each other, but also that the toes are on a straight line. We'll stay off the heels, and the hands are leaning across the line. Now, this is what we call a ready position. The knees are kind of pinched in. Now, what we don't want to see is this type of ready position, or this type of ready position, or this type of ready position, or this type of ready position. So you summer league coaches have seen all kinds of improper ready positions. Just try to build into your practice sessions during your inter-squad play or your drills to make sure that they're always down in a ready position prior to every pitch. The fielding position is the alignment between the glove heel and the throwing toe. Now the toes will point straight ahead, the hands out in front, approximately the length of their favorite bat, and line up with the belt buckle. But what you want to do is have them go from a ready position to a fielding position, and then just take a bat and see if you can slide it between the heel and toe. Now, what you're going to find is a lot of them will be in this type of position, fielding the ball, or this type of position, or this kind of position, all kinds of weird, unbalanced positions. And throughout the defensive series, we talk about the fielding tee and the importance of fighting to get the feet into that classical fielding position with the hands out in front of that bat, the bottom of the tee and the top of the tee. We need to talk about the skip and throw position because it's a classic position that all you young players must memorize. Every time I feel the ball, cushion to the belt, I need to come up to the chest with the ball in the glove. If the ball is rolling free on the ground, pick the ball up and bring it to the chest in the glove. So many eras in baseball are throwing eras, and they're brought about by throwing the ball in another fashion than what I'm about to illustrate. I think every time, whether the ball's on the ground or whether you just caught the ball or fielded it, come straight to the chest with it in the classic skip and throw position. Now what I have, in addition to having the ball in the glove against the chest, I have my shoulder and my hip lined up with my target. My target is the chest of my teammate. And I want to make sure that I skip, have quick arm action, quick, not tense and slow, but quick arm action. And I want to follow through with my shoulder and my back leg over the top. Now it's important that that back leg pushes off and turns up so that the backside is not restricted when you throw. It's also important that that back throwing shoulder follows through towards the target that you're throwing to. We see so many times the back leg and the back shoulder stop in its restricted pattern and the ball sails up high and off to the side. So we have two classic positions here, the skip and throw position and the follow-through position. Next we have what we call a short hop drill. Now the short hop drill, Russell, if you want to come up here and assist me with this, the player gets into a classic fielding position, that fielding tee. Let's come on up to here. Get in a classic fielding position, and once again we have the heel and the toe lined up. The hands are out at the end of that bat tee, and we're going to work on glove dexterity. Now, this drill is executed in pairs. In other words, Russell and I might be partners. So I'd back off, starting close and starting slow. And we'll start with 2 hands. Stay in that fielding position and just nice and easy right at first. Nice and easy. All we want to do is keep the glove open, keep the hands fanned open out in front. Watch the ball come into the glove. Notice that Russell's nose follows the ball into the glove. Now, after we've gotten to that point, then he puts one hand behind his back and tries to do it strictly with the glove hand only. And then I might throw some to his throwing side, so he has to backhand it. He has to take his glove from a fielding position and put it in a backhand position. Once again, the ball and the glove must go the same direction. What we're trying to work on is glove quickness or glove dexterity. Okay, now we can even do it if we're close enough without a glove, with bare hands and just reach out and bring the ball into the body, watching the ball come into the hands. So there's actually 4 ways to execute the short hop drill, with no glove on, with 2 hands, with 1 hand behind you, and a backhand position. In the rhythm drill, the reason why I call it the rhythm drill, because it's executed in a rhythmical pattern. Really, it is a form check for fielding and throwing the ball. Now, Russell is going to move from a ready position, charge the ball, get into a fielding position, cushion, come up to a skip and throw position, follow through position, right to the chest of the teammate he's throwing to or working with on this drill. So let's watch Russell go through the ready position, fielding position, skip and throw position, follow through position all at once, and we call it a rhythm drill. Okay, Russell, back up just a little bit. Okay. Okay. All right, now Russell, come right on up here and get a ready position and pretend like the ball was hit to your glove side 3 hard strides. Now, he's going to execute what we call a crossover step. Let's go ahead and get ready, go. Now, what we've got to do is learn to cross over properly. All right, cushion, skip, and throw. All right, come on back and let's do it again. Now, on the crossover step, just stop and freeze when you cross over. All right, the belt buckle must be going in the direction of the ball. You do not want to take this type of step, this needless step, waste time. I haven't moved my body when I'm going to my right or left. I want to cross over and get underway quickly as soon as the ball is hit. So, Russell, let's demonstrate this. Okay, stay right there. Let's go the other way. Couple more times. Okay. Now, I think it's very, very important that the player understand the importance of fighting to get the feet set and lined up with the ball. The ball should be lined up with the belt buckle or that middle bat line that we talked about on the fielding tee. Now, they've got to learn to fight to get those feet set. Heel-toe alignment and the hands out in front, the knees bent, and the hips low. That's the classic fielding position. Let's talk a little bit about the backhand drill. Now, suppose I'm fighting to get my belt buckle in front and I can't on the ball's hit to my throwing side. Then I need to backhand the ball. I need to backhand the ball. So, Russell, let's go through this backhand drill and get in that backhand position as the ball reaches your glove. Ready? Now, once again, we don't have time to skip and throw, so we just come on up and throw. Plant that throwing side foot and throw. Now, it's important that you little guys remember the relationship between the backhand position and the scissor claps. Russell, I want you to go through the backhand position, freeze, and stop. Go. Now, do some scissor claps. Now, that is the position that you got to get your feet in when you backhand the ball. Pull away from your body weight, pull back so that you're able to throw. Ready? Notice the cushion. Straight back and throw. Crossover on fly ball drill. Now let's bring Russell up here and let him show how this is done. Once again, get into a ready position, and we're going to the ball is going to be over his glove shoulder, and he's going to cross over, not step back and backpedal. Let's watch him. Now, on as many of these drills as possible, we try to catch the ball with two hands. For you little guys, some of the major league players will catch the ball with one hand, but they've got big hands, large gloves that are well trained. They work on their gloves constantly, and the leather in these gloves are such that will allow them to almost manipulate them any way they want to, and they feel comfortable catching it with one hand. I would suggest strongly that you always catch fly balls with two hands. Now, on this crossover step, remember that one of the most damaging things to an infielder or an outfielder going back on a fly ball is to take this step back and another step back and then finally cross over. I'm losing a lot of valuable time. So what I want to do is open up, cross over, and be on my way full speed within that first step or step and a half. Run to the ball, then catch it with two hands if possible. Try not to jog to it just in time to get there, but sprint, and if you have to wait on the ball, wait on it. But cross over and sprint to the ball.
Like all exercises and drills, the more you practice, the better you'll perform.